The growing prohibitions on what teachers can say and what students can read in Florida schools need context. Let's start with the restrictions on sexual orientation. When lawmakers came up with the first round of restrictions on discussing sexual orientation and gender identity, Senator Jeff Brandes said, let's broaden that out to sexuality in general so it would apply equally to all of us.
This amendment says we're not going to have any conversations about human sexuality, sexual activity, gender identity. All of those conversations are best left at home.
And the majority of his fellow lawmakers said no, that's not what they want.
I think that we would be moving in the wrong direction and changing this bill.
The sponsor said he was specifically concerned about the growing number of openly gay students.
Why is everybody now all about coming out when you're in school?
And he hoped the restrictions on teachers discussing sexual orientation in school would reduce the number of openly gay students.
So basically what I heard you say, just to confirm, is that there seems to be a big uptick in the number of children who are coming out as gay or experimenting, and therefore we need to not discuss it in the younger grades. Is that correct?
That is part of why I'm attracted to this bill. Yeah, that's part of our concern for the well-being of our children.
And then as lawmakers moved to expand those restrictions to higher grades, Representative Webster Barnaby revealed his thoughts on people who are transgender.
It's like we have mutants living among us on planet Earth.
He said people who are transgender have no part of this world.
This is the planet Earth, where God created men, male, and women, female. I'm a proud Christian conservative Republican.
He called people who are transgender demons.
The Lord rebuke you, Satan, and all of your demons and all of your imps.
Now, a demon can be defined as someone who is extremely cruel. And Barnaby later said he would like to apologize to the trans community for calling them demons. But he also retweeted his original remarks over and over again.
That's right. I called you demons and imps who come and parade before us and pretend that you are part of this world.
Meanwhile, the state rejected 35% of social studies material for different reasons and required revisions to much of it for what it did accept. It nixed, for example, reference to the murder of George Floyd and a suggestion that students discuss the national anthem protests with their parents. And in a middle school lesson on the Holocaust, it flagged this question: what social justice issues are included in the Hebrew Bible? They had it changed to what are some of the key principles included in the Hebrew Bible. See, Florida is restricting reference to social justice, which by definition means fair treatment of all people in society. Programs promoting diversity and inclusion have also been nixed, and the state has also restricted other lessons on African American history. The governor claims to advance what he calls a radical agenda.
That is more of ideology being used under the guise of history.
Governor DeSantis said he wants teaching by relaying facts, not discussing and interpreting views.
And that's what our standards for Black history are. It's just cut and dried history. You learn all the basics, you learn about the great figures.
Great figures like Dr. King, who the governor, lieutenant governor, and State Department of Education quote as saying, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." But their restrictions could leave out the part about how King hoped to get there by promoting an agenda he himself called radical.
Racial injustice and economic injustice cannot be solved without a radical redistribution of political and economic power.
Now, Dr. King lived in an age in which this governor and that governor tried to block African American students from going to school with white students. Which brings us to the story of the Little Rock Nine, who made history integrating Little Rock Central High School. But that story was also removed from McCulloch County elementary schools based on one parent's complaint. And the new legislation makes it easier for books to be at least temporarily removed based on one parent's complaint. And that's just one example of many more yet to come based on what we're seeing in counties all across the state.
I submitted 60-plus challenges the following week at your special meeting. Includes 350 more book challenges. I have over 100 more left to do.
And that one person is now up to 3,600 books challenged.
And I'm just scratching the surface.
And under Florida law, unresolved book disputes go to a special magistrate that schools facing complaints would have to pay for. which may pressure schools or give them financial motivation to remove books before they even get challenged based on what they may guess any parent in their district might flag, which could lead to even more removals because people can and do draw very different lines on what they find appropriate that may be valid or invalid based to a certain extent on the eye of the beholder in potential removals yet to come. For example, you could flag a book for inclusion of sexual assault and attempted abortion and remove William Faulkner's As I Lay Dying. Or you could flag a book about characters who produce pornography and engage in illegal sex acts and remove Orwell's 1984, which was more broadly a warning about how government can control us by restricting what content people do and don't have access to read. Now, the governor and his allies in the legislature say they're preventing political indoctrination, while critics claim the governor and his allies are causing it. Well, a spokesman for the governor tweeted, "The political indoctrination of children through K through 12 public schools is very real and a prolific problem in this country." And in a time in which people are sharply divided, he managed to phrase that in such a way that both sides would agree with that statement, as our schools are now caught in a crossfire of money, power, and politics.